So Brooks,
Yes.
why architecture?
I've always been, I had Legos, I had the tubs of Legos. My parents loved stepping on them, so I've always been building, tinkering and stuff, and it just is something that I kind of fell into. I was a computer science and art major, and so I'm not really sure how I picked those two, but I got a job working for Templeton Construction, kind of right out of school, and from there I kind of realized that I wanted to be sort of on the other side of the blueprints, so to speak. So, and before I actually started working for Templeton, I'd worked for an Americorps program in Austin where we built low-income sustainable housing on the east side of Austin, and so that was sort of like my first real taste of building and construction, and I think sort of the art background helped me wanted to kind of be in the design side of it. So,
Well, what do you like about architecture?
it's new, something new almost every day. It's just, and practicing in San Angelo, we pride ourselves on being kind of generalists. We do a lot of different stuff. We do schools, churches, we've done houses, did the Performing Arts Center. So every project is a little bit different, and so I'm always learning, always solving problems, and trying to solve problems creatively and effectively and economically.
So you mentioned you earned a bachelor's degree in computer science. So how is computer science related to architecture, or is it?
It is. It's funny. I think I have sort of a different mindset going into solving problems than the other folks in our office, because I look at it, I just sort of have that sort of eye on things as far as like looking to solve problems in a sort of algorithmic way. And so I think, there's always, we use computer programs, and that's helpful, especially in a small office, being able to sort of be computer literate. But I think having sort of an eye towards solving problems in a sort of iterative and step-by-step process is something that I bring to my profession.
You mentioned your firm you're generalist, so you do a lot of different things, and some of the things that you've been involved in, as you mentioned, the design of the Concho River improvements, the new Stevens Performing Arts Center, and the new offices of West Texas Counseling and Guidance in the Cactus Hotel. So do you have a favorite project that you've worked on that you feel like is sort of your baby?
Those are three great ones, and I get a kick out of going down to the river. The River Fest was this past weekend, and it was just, I love seeing, it fully, having so many people there and enjoying that stuff and really feeling part of that. But I think that the West Texas Counseling Guidance, because I've been on that board for over 6 years now, and seeing them and helping them sort of guide them and bring them along to the point where, from where they were, where, I feel like we were having car washes to help make payroll, when I first started, and now that helping them kind of get to a point where they're thriving in a new, beautiful facility in the Cactus Hotel. So really helping to bring them along is something that I'm really happy and proud of.
You mentioned being down at the river and really enjoying seeing people enjoy the river now with some of the work that your firm helped do down there. Is there a sense of pride in knowing that, hey, I was a part of this? And
oh, absolutely, yeah. I have to hold myself to not tell my daughter every time we're down there, your dad designed this. But but it's great. No, I'm really proud of that, and I love being from here and being from San Angelo. I love sort of having that, being able to make an impact on our community like that. I think it's wonderful. I think it's a dream come true. So,
do you think being from San Angelo, does that give you sort of more of a sense of place here whenever you're doing your work? Do you think that somehow impacts your work in a way that makes it sort of fit San Angelo?
I think so. I think knowing the climate, knowing the landscape, I think is, particularly with a project like the river, is having that sort of sense. But also growing up with the people and knowing who San Angeloans are, what their values are, what they appreciate, I think helps a lot sort of with our design and our process.
Your firm is also involved in the design of the new jail, the new county jail, which is a vastly different project from the river. So how do you approach a project like that versus one that is, I guess, more aesthetic based than it is functional.
The jail is, I think, actually going to impact, more positively impact more lives than almost any project that we've done. If you consider the number of inmates and the number of sheriff staff that are going to be occupying that space in the space that they're in now, and how much that's going to affect all of those people's quality of lives, everyone who comes in contact with that jail. So yeah, it was a tough project. It was, you know, it was pretty cut and dry, nuts and bolts, and there's a lot of things, you know, like you're laying out the spaces, or you're helping to design the spaces, and it's like, this is where the prisoners are going to leave their clothes until they, you know, for the next foreseeable future, you know. And so it's, that kind of is depressing. But so you have to sort of really, but knowing that the space that they're going to occupy with a direct supervision versus what they're currently in right now will make it so much better for them.
And in helping, because I know your partner Craig Kinney, and he's explained to me before he's, you know, of course, went and toured the current jail and just described it as a really depressing place. And so one of the things that he said that you guys are trying to do with the design of that is try to make it a more livable environment that hopefully will decrease the recidivism, so that, you know, it's not such a hopeless situation, I guess, for inmates who are there.
Absolutely. I mean, Craig and Kai have spent a lot more time across the street in the jail than I have, touring, not as residents. But yeah, you know, I spent an afternoon in there, and it's, you know, you feel like you got something on your shoulder when you leave. I mean, it's just walking through, it's rough, and I think, you know, bringing in daylight, increasing. I think bringing in daylight is huge. Will be a big part of it, but also going from a direct supervision model to an indirect. I mean, from an indirect supervision model to a direct supervision model is also going to do a lot to sort of help these inmates, and yeah, hopefully reduce recidivism. I think studies have borne that out, that it does happen. So hopefully that'll also happen in San Angelo.
As you're approaching a work project, what are the prospects about a project that most excite you?
You know, we do so much different stuff. So, I mean, you really are kind of always looking for something, you know. On some projects, it might be the site, you know, with the area foundation building. You know, for that, we were really excited about to do sort of our first project downtown. You know, so the idea of how is that going to work, and how to introduce some urbanism to help that project sort of interface with pedestrians in an urban manner. You know, so that was sort of an exciting concept, and so that sort of led to that breezeway that's through the middle there. With the Performing Arts Center, you know, the idea of taking an old warehouse and really making it into something where art and something beautiful is going to be made is, you know, so, you know, that was sort of, obviously that, it's hard to not get excited about that project. But I mean, so you're always finding new and fun things, that like problems to solve, things that can make this project unique. How can we kind of put our stamp on this project and make it something special for our client?
You mentioned that you have served on the board and volunteered with West Texas Counseling and Guidance for a number of years now. Why is that a vital service that organization offers to this community?
Mental health is something that affects us constantly, you know, and I think that we're just now sort of, as a community, beginning to understand how it affects us, how it affects our interactions with other people, how it affects the people's interactions with us. And so for West Texas Counseling and Guidance to come in and provide the services that they do to all income ranges, I think really helps with, is a real service to the community. I think one of their new programs, the Lost Team, where they reach out to suicide survivors, is something that they've undertaken, and it's something I'm so proud of them for doing. I think it's a phenomenal program, and I think, you know, the goal of zero suicide is ambitious, but I think it's so worthwhile, and I'm really proud to be involved in helping to do that. You know, other people are doing more on that, but I'm just really proud of being involved with that organization.
It seems like you're moved by your work with West Texas Counseling and Guidance.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think they they work really hard to provide best practices, evidence-based therapy to folks who really need it, to people who are struggling, to young families, mothers, children who otherwise wouldn't be able to get this kind of service and that kind of thing. If helping people with depression helps them hold on to a job, or if helping people, to continue to live their lives and help hopefully thrive in their lives. I think that's incredibly important.
You mentioned a little bit earlier that you served a stint in Americorps and, as you said, building sustainable housing for low-income families. What inspired you to sign up with that organization?
That was actually not my first Americorps stint. I did another one in Montana right after I graduated where I was on a trail crew. And I think service has actually been sort of something that I was raised with, and something I hope to raise my daughter with. But I know being a big part of the youth group where I grew up, in the church I grew up in, mission work, going to Mexico for a lot of mission work, and so I think that was sort of an example that my parents gave to me, and so I think it's always sort of been sort of something I try and do as best I can. As you grow up, you have less time, but it's important, I think, to keep trying to find time.
So tell us about that work in the Montana wilderness. I understand you were cutting trails through those parts.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I pretty much graduated from college and caught a flight up to Montana, and then within about 3 days I was sleeping in a tent. And actually, that first morning I woke up in June, there was snow on the ground, and I was like, "What have I signed up for?" This kid from Texas, but we called them hitches, where we'd be gone for about 10 days at a time in the wilderness, and they'd pack in on mules all of our food and tools, and we would backpack in our personal gear, and they would just sort of say, "Here's the trail from there to there. Keep going. We'll see you in 10 days." And so we would just kind of hike in and hike out, and it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. But I realized that I'm a West Texas kid, because I get a little claustrophobic if I couldn't see a horizon line. So in these big tall trees, I was always a little uneasy until we sort of like crest over something I could sign up to see the horizon. I realized I needed to be where it's a little bit more open. So
that sounds like it was really roughing it. What do you think you learned from that experience?
Hard work. I mean, that was really hard work, and we would work 8 to 10 hour days, with maybe an hour's break total for the whole day. And so it was, I think it was just, that was sort of like one of my first tastes of you just put your head down and you go. And then at the end of the day, you can look up and look back and see how far you've gone, and sort of like take that in and feel that accomplishment. So.
As you mentioned before about being a generalist, one of your partners in your firm who nominated you said that you are a generalist who is capable of both design and technical leadership. What does that mean to you?
I've always kind of felt like I've sort of like been kind of in the middle of, even before I really felt like architecture was where I needed to be. I was an art major and a computer science major. I was, I've always sort of felt like I'm in that Myers-Briggs test. I was kind of like, I was in the middle. I'm an introvert and an extrovert. I'm this and I'm that, So, and I think that also carries over to my professional talents as well. I think I'm good with construction details. I'm good with construction and the numbers, but I'd like to be better at design. I'd like to work more on that and improve more there. But I do think that I have a talent there as well. So,
what's your definition of leadership?
Influencing, I would say influencing a group of people to achieve something that isn't achievable by yourself. So something that no one person could do, but if you get several people to do it, and you can help influence their direction and get them moving in the same way, on the same page, rowing together to accomplish that.
So talk about a leader who's impacted you.
I'd say my dad. He's always been more of a lead by example and through consensus kind of a guy, which I sort of model myself after. So he coached every sport I did. He was Boy Scouts, he was a pack leader when I was interested in the Boy Scouts. He did everything for my sisters as well. And I think it's very much lead through example, which is I learned a lot from him.
And of course, your dad is Dr. Carl Wehner, so
yes.
he's probably treated tens of thousands, if not more, kids here in San Angelo as a pediatrician, including my daughter.
Excellent.
I might say. So, Brooks, you have your choice of where you could live and work, and you chose to come back to San Angelo. Why?
To be honest, it wasn't on my radar. I went off to architecture school dreaming about New York or Chicago or San Francisco, and but I wound up here because Craig and Kai had work, and I graduated about 2008, 2009. So, it wasn't something I intended, but having lived elsewhere and coming back to San Angelo, being home and being able to do things that really impact my hometown, impact my home community, like the River Project, like the Performing Arts Center, it's really rewarding, and it's something. I mean, it's really rewarding to be able to give back to my community, my hometown like this. So.
And sort of the best part is your wife, who's a Houston girl and lived in Austin for a long time. Tell us what she thinks about San Angelo.
Yeah, so my wife was born in Houston and then moved to Austin to go to UT and stayed there for the following 8 years until she moved to San Angelo with me, and she loves it here. She after Houston and Austin, she does not want to leave. She loves being in San Angelo.
Brooks, it's a big honor to be one of the 20 under 40. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.